To save for the back end of this climb, isn't it?
Oh, it's absolutely brutal. Just look at the gear that is in. It's still keeping a pretty decent cadence, though. Do you see the way on the last bend, rather than cut the apex, he kept as wide as he can just to shave a little bit of percentage off the gradient, as now Grosshartner goes clear. Grosshartner taking with him Johannessen.
Oh, a great job being done by Anders Haaland. We think of him as he's certainly of the two the Johannessen brothers, Haaland Johannessen brothers, maybe not quite as good a climber as his brother, but he's very, very good indeed. Stage win in Tour de Slovénie a few years ago, of course, and Theo Geoghegan Hart, coming back after a long layoff, is struggling to stay in contention here, albeit he is in front of his teammate Juan Pedro Lopez, who seems to be the not quite climbing with the same efficiency of Theo Geoghegan Hart. So the preferred option at the moment for the Lidl Trek squad would be Theo Geoghegan Hart, but he's fighting a rearguard action. Things looking good at the moment for Uno X, and indeed for the U18 membered squad, with Felix Grosshartner starting to move clear, and riders increasingly they're hitting this gradient. And now the rider up front, Tsarenko, we can get a sort of a basis for comparison. It looks as if he's doing as well as they are behind the favourite riders, not going a whole lot quicker than him.
Yeah, they're only about, I mean, he passed that, they're probably only about 200 metres behind him at the moment, but that could equate to the best part of 3/4 of a minute. The gap has come down dramatically as Johannessen now sweeps past the rider that attacked earlier on, and as Grosshartner hasn't given up as well, but this is brutally steep here. It really is. Theo Geoghegan Hart also fighting. Good to see the Brit back in some decent form. This race is not over. The GC up for grabs here.
Well, they're fighting the bike desperately. Jose Felix Parra with in the company of Theo Geoghegan Hart to try and stay in contention for a little while longer. Meanwhile, up front, he's well, they've picked up the cameras, but he's still at some distance from the finish line yet, well inside the final kilometre. But this has been a brave bid from the early break of the day until Tsarenko of Ukraine and Team Solution Tech Vini Fantini. We haven't seen Zoccarato, because I can only think that he has been overhauled at this point. Well, we make no assumptions. Anders Haaland Johannessen either second or third on the climb at the moment, and just a small amount of space between him and the rest of the favourites. So Anders Haaland Johannessen starting with an advantage in there over the rest of the favourites, starting second, of course, but the man who led into this fourth stage is currently some distance removed on the climb. So heading towards the overall race leadership, Uno X and Norway at the moment. Kulset there as well, won't assist with the chasing. Castillon is trying to fight to stay ahead of the rest of the favourites. Theo Geoghegan Hart potentially moving to second overall here if he can stay in, but this is a real scrap all the way to the line. Here's Zoccarato, so he is second on the hill.
Yeah, great ride by a good fighting performance there by the Italian. The gradient starts less, and looks like Theo Geoghegan Hart trying to wind things up a little bit. Yes, Johannessen just in front of Grosshartner, also accelerating clear now as Johannessen rounds this corner. It's going to be a real scrap for the minor placings here, which will determine the outcome of the GC. But what a ride tackling by this young man here.
Kyrylo Tsarenko from Team Solution Tech Vini Fantini can hardly believe what he is about to achieve, because he went in the early break. He's been up there all day, and he is going to survive on one of the most brutal climbs in recent history of Tour of Slovenia. He can have a little look around and compose your victory celebration, because he's shaking his head. It's an absolutely massive victory. Kyrylo Tsarenko takes the win on stage 4, and while he's not going to move up significantly on general classification, it nonetheless is a huge win. He's managed to fend off all of the breakaway riders and the favourites behind. Samuele Zoccarato is going to do enough to take another significant result in his career for Team Polti VisitMalta. The Italian rider vanquished on the climb, but nonetheless a commendable performance for Zoccarato. He gets second, and now we create an X to see who's coming up next. It's Anders Haaland Johannessen racing to glory, racing to green here. Felix Grosshartner not quite able to stay on terms. Third, some bonus seconds to go with it, and a little bit of a detachment between himself and Theo Geoghegan Hart, and there's Kulset there as well, and Castillon surviving from his effort. And they're coming up this hill in ones and twos, and we're going to have to wait a little while, I think, for the erstwhile race leader, as we see the latest young Slovenian to put in your notebook, Jakub Omerzel. Starting the day 6th overall. It's going to keep that position, I think.
Yeah, that's a great ride by the youngster. Juan P. Lopez just rolling across the line. Keplinger